Hello! We are live. How are you, everyone? It is super fun. We have both Heidi and Franny and Aussie and Zeke in the chat. So this live starts well.
Huh?
How are you doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
Can we do a sound check? Can everybody hear us?
A sound check. Hello, hello.
Just wait till we have somebody type in the...
Why am I so bad? Okay, we will not start with this. Hi everyone, it's good to see you. If you haven't followed our recent run, did you switch this? Because there we go. We're gonna.
All right, we have a confirmation.
Yeah, we got good sound.
Thanks, guys.
All right, good.
All right, so we are gathered here today.
Wow.
I did say. Strong start. We arrived in Horta in the Azores about a week ago, 6 days ago on Monday last week, after 15 days at sea and about a month and a half between Bonaire and the Azores. And we've had a lot of fun. And so today we thought that we were going to debrief with you this incredible passage and share with you all of the stories of the things and the adventures that happened. Do you guys have enough fuel? Yes, we did. All right. We're definitely going to take questions, but I thought that before we do that and we get to you to the chat and do one of these live Q&As that we really like, we would talk about the last month and a half. Okay, who wants to start?
I can go. So we sometimes forget that we actually had two parts of this passage, and the first part was from Bonaire to Bermuda. We were originally going to go from Bonaire directly to the Azores, but our path north took us very north, and we weren't able to cut over to the Azores really at all. So we ended up 60 miles south of Bermuda, and we decided about 12 hours out that we were going to stop in Bermuda for burgers and beer. So we did that. But our trip from Bonaire up to Bermuda was good, but it was an upwind ride the whole way. So we had the wind on our beam, but because we were sailing, the wind goes forward because of the apparent wind and the boat speed. And so we were sailing upwind most of the way with the waves on the side of the boat. And it was like that, pretty strong speeds. And that what you'd say it was like probably 20 knots or so, maybe the whole way for at least the first 7 days. Yeah. And that was tiring, I would say. So it was good weather, consistent weather, not super squally weather, but it was really tiring sailing because the boat was heeled the whole time. We were taking a lot of waves and splashes from the side.
It was very intense sailing. Yeah,
and the boat was slamming a lot. So it was just kind of tough sailing, although it was good sailing. We had so many waves that we ended up blowing a hole through our spray hood.
Yes, that was, I think, something that I never thought could happen. But because the wind was blowing so hard on one side of the boat and we were taking so much water, so much spray, when we arrived in Bermuda, when Ryan was taking the sail down, his elbow went through the spray hood and created this giant hole that we were like, this needs to be repaired now.
So I think that part of the passage, I mean, there's not tons to say. It was just tired. It was a long time ago too, so we kind of forgot about it.
We sailed almost the entire way.
Which
was really cool.
Yeah, we thought that we would have to stop sailing like maybe 3 days out of Bermuda, like the winds were going to get too light, but we actually ended up sailing all the way from Bonaire up until the outer marker at the channel to go into Bermuda in the middle of the night. So like we really, Polar Seal sailed really, really well. And the only breakages that we had was the spray hood. And then right as we were going into Bermuda, Bermuda radio is very good and very British, as the Brits are, and asked us lots of questions about our equipment on board and what we have. And one of the questions was, do you have a VHF with DSC calling? And I said yes. And then I heard a big pop, and literally our Raymarine VHF completely died. So we had to wait a few hours and call them back on the handheld. And
Ryan, how did you know that the VHF had died in this moment?
because I heard a pop and I looked at the screen and there was no longer life in the screen. And yeah, so that's how I knew. I knew right away. And plus the thing was, it had been acting up anyways. Like I think when we were going through the Mona Pass, there was a ship like a little ways off us, and then I think I was in the cockpit with you, and you and I were talking about something with that ship, and we tried to call them, and we couldn't. Like we didn't even see them on AIS, and we couldn't get a hold of them. So I knew something was kind of up, and this is very important for our later story. So.
Yes, and obviously in that moment we knew that we were not going to leave Bermuda again without a replacement for our VHF. We do have an handheld backup, but it does not have the range that you want to have when you go offshore and you want to communicate with ships that are between 10 nautical miles and 40 nautical miles away from you. And that detail is important for what happened between Bermuda and the Azores when we were actually doing the ocean crossing.
Somebody just asked if a fuse popped in it, and that could have been the case, but the VHF has been having problems for quite a while, and so I kind of used it as a reason that like the outer station wasn't working. A lot of the receivers, the hand units were like the sheathing was coming off the cables. It was dying a slow death, and so even if it was a fuse, it was time for it to be replaced.
Yes, so here we're gonna take 5 minutes to plug the amazing service that we received from Catamaran Supply. Okay, if you don't know, Annette is the CEO of Catamaran Supply and the founder, together with her husband Willem. And it's safe to say that you guys have come through for us in so many occasions, but in that particular one, I don't know if all of you are aware, but in the world situation that we are living at the moment, it is very difficult to receive stuff. There is a shortage of container ships, and it was very difficult to find a VHF, a Raymarine VHF that could be delivered to us fast. And you and Willem did such an amazing job at 7 a.m. in the morning, right as we arrived in Bermuda, to try to find this VHF and the solution to get it to Bermuda as fast as possible. And I mean, if it wasn't for you, I don't know if we would have found that VHF or how we would have sorted it. So Catamaran Supply, yay! That was terrible advertising.
Oh, wow.
But
no, but it was great. It was good. We got on the task right away, and thankfully we were able to find one. And so it did get to us within a week, which was lucky.
Less than a week.
Yeah.
Which,
Did push our first. We did lose our first weather window, but everything was meant to be, I think. So it got to us pretty fast.
Yeah. So it was not the same VHF than when we bought the boat. Do you want to bring the VHF?
No. I think he's asking. I think Alan's asking if the one that blew up was the same one.
it was the one that.
Yeah.
So it was 15 years old. So it was about its time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It had done its time. Okay. Do you want to continue the story, Ryan?
Yeah. So
Ryan installed the VHF within, what was it, 20 minutes?
I think it was like an hour. I got the new VHF installed, but
we were promised under 2 hours, and you delivered.
I did, and there was very, very little swearing.
But I thought there was none.
I don't think there was. Maybe one. I don't know. It does. Anyways,
it was a good day for installations.
So yeah, I had determined we weren't going to go offshore without a VHF. How do I put this? A installed VHF with an antenna on the mast, so we could actually get some range with it, and it was a good thing we did. But because we had to wait for it, we ended up missing probably the best weather window we had to cross.
Yes.
And then from then on out, the winds just got squally weather, and we were advised not to go out in it. And then the winds in the North Atlantic got really, really light.
It got very weak, very swirly, and when the wind started again, it looked like this would be the worst passage ever.
Yeah, there was like a lot of easterly winds, which we weren't going to do.
So for you guys who are not sailors, easterly winds mean that we would be sailing with the wind against us, which is not an ideal situation.
No, so yeah, we waited in Bermuda we were only going to be there for like 4 days, and we ended up being there for almost 3 weeks. But it was kind of fun. We were in the anchorage with a number of other boats that were kind of in similar situations.
And we found them very fast.
The
second day, I think we met a lot of people.
Yeah.
There, so it was really fun.
So we ended up having
How did we meet them, Anna?
This is fun, right? A boat invited everybody in the anchorage over, saying that on Wednesdays, this is what they do.
To a party.
Honestly, it was the most people that we've been together with
in 2 years,
somewhat close quarters. Yeah, in a long time.
Since March 2020, and it was it felt good. Annette and I, you say party. Annette and I will be here right away. As a matter of fact, we were the first ones.
Yes,
and so we get to meet everybody.
We met everybody in Anchorage, which was really fun.
Yeah. And as it happens, a lot of people who are on anchor in Bermuda are there because they are going to cross over to the Azores.
That's right. So we met a lot of people that were crossing and a lot of people in the similar situation. So I think we all talked once a day about what the weather was looking like. There were a few boats that left before us, and a number of them, when we ran into them here, we kind of regretted that scenario that they left, because we figured if we're going to go out on light winds, we'd be bobbing around for days, and we might as well just sit and anchor in Bermuda, and it's expensive, but at least it's nice, as opposed to just being out at sea. So that was our strategy, and then the day came. I forget what day it was. Even.
It was a Sunday.
Sunday, and 3 of us left. A boat named Sargo, ourselves, and then our buddy boat Zanzibar, which some of you may have seen in the story to come. And then a few days after that, there was probably 5 or 6 other boats in the anchorage that followed.
Yep.
And as of this morning, we've all made it here.
Yeah. We're all in Horta.
So we are going to have a big party on Tuesday, so that's nice. So yeah, from there we left and crossed over to Horta, and also very, I would say, uneventful for the most part passage. We had a couple of different weather routers that just by chance we only started with 1 and we ended up with 4 by the end.
We kind of accumulated weather routers over the course of the passage. We started with Andy Shell, who, like, Andy Shell does much more than weather routing, and I don't think that he does the weather routing himself.
Yeah, he does. He gets the weather information.
He gets the weather from WRI. Then we met Jen, who's my personal idol. She is a climate scientist. She has a doctorate in climate science, and she is this expert meteorologist and a sailor, and a really good sailor. And the updates that she would send us were just amazing and so personal, because Jen did not act as a weather router, but she was like our friend. Like, she doesn't offer her services. She was our friend, and it felt so good. It always felt warm and fuzzy when she would send something. Then you were like, let's get Chris Parker's update.
So we got Chris Parker, and then just like 2 hours before we left, we got a guy named Charlie from myweatherrouter.com. So we used all these guys along the way, and it was actually, it was really helpful. All of them were very helpful, but it helped us. We were up north and down south and back up north again, trying to catch wind the whole way. And
okay, so just to put things in context for people who don't sail oceans a lot, when you cross the Atlantic from east to west, you follow the trade winds, and the weather patterns are very consistent. The wind is downwind all the way, and you know what you're going to get. You're going to get various degrees of downwind. But when you cross from west back to east, the weather patterns can change drastically based on your position and the time that it is. And so weather routing becomes really important, because every day you want to make sure that you are positioned for what's coming. And I think that for us at this point, having people helping us making decisions on how we were going to position ourselves in the ocean for what was coming was extremely beneficial.
It wasn't just the winds either. It was the currents from the Gulf Stream, because the Gulf Stream goes up a little bit farther north than where we went, but parts of it break off and create little eddies that form. And while we can get some of that data, it's a bit easier for someone on land to look at it and tell us especially where not to go, if there's a really strong negative current for us. So that was helpful, and we pretty much were in positive currents the whole way for us.
Which is so incredible and was really nice.
It was really helpful, yeah.
Every day, when you look at our chart plotter, you see our heading, and then you see our course over ground. And your heading is where you position your boat to go. Your course over ground is where your boat is actually going, because the wind will push us in a certain direction, and currents will push us in a certain direction. And so you can see on the chart plotter the direction of the wind coming on our boat, but also the direction of the currents. And every day we would have this big blue arrow indicating currents, like pushing us really far out. And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So yeah, the weather routers were good, and we thought we were going to have to motor for the first maybe 3 days to get up north far enough to catch some wind. And we actually ended up only motoring for, what was it, like less than 24 hours total over the first 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we caught some good winds right away. We managed to get up north, and that was great for us because one of my concerns leaving because of the light and fluky winds was that we weren't going to have enough fuel, or we'd have to bob around for a while. And so we had I had bought 100 extra liters of jerry cans in Bermuda. And I was planning on 3 days at the beginning, and that gave me an extra 2 days or 3 days for the end, which isn't a lot if we get into the middle of a high. But we ended up only having to use a day of that. So that was a major win from the start, and it gave us a lot of reserve for when we left. So that started off really well. And then we caught some good winds and pushed us south a little bit. And we just stayed on the same tack for 6 days with the head sail pulled out on one side, wing on wing, and the mainsail on the other side. So we're kind of going down like this, the wind pushing us. And then
it took us a moment to find that sail configuration. I think the waves were making us a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then we finally said, all right, let's try the pole. It'll give us a better heading.
Yeah.
And the better heading was just slightly south of east, basically. Yeah. And as soon as we pulled out the head sail, we were so nicer. Comfortable.
Yeah.
And we just stayed that way for so long.
So many days.
And it was really nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, it was really amazing. It was such a great sail setup for us. I really thought that we were going to use our Genoa. If some of you don't sail, a Genoa is a much bigger head sail, but we use a jib, which is a little smaller. And we took the jib off. It was amazing. It worked so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sometimes hidden by the comments in the TV.
Do you want to? Oh. Here, we'll do this. Come here, Ryan.
I'm sorry. Okay.
We wouldn't want you. Yeah.
Everyone to miss Ryan.
There you go.
So when we left, that one. So describe the Sargasso Sea experience. Well,
so what is Saragossa, Ryan?
It is a seaweed that develops in the Atlantic, and it's brown and it's disgusting, and there can be big patches of it. And we had a lot of it going from Bonaire up to Bermuda.
Huge patches just by Puerto Rico.
Huge patches. And when we were motoring, it was a pain. Every hour, we'd probably have to back down on the propeller to get it to come off the prop because the boat would just shake violently.
Sometimes even more often. I for that reason, I found motoring a little frustrating. I mean, there's obviously other reasons we find motoring frustrating, but that was just an add-on.
That was so bad.
So frustrating. When we left Bermuda, then, because we had some very light but easterly winds the first 3 days, we actually had quite a bit of weed that day also. But as soon as the winds turned westerly, it pretty much all went away. And we didn't see anything. What we did see, which we can talk about more later, was a lot of trash. Everybody talks about the Pacific garbage area. The Atlantic has one too, and the area we were in is that area. And we saw so much stuff, not like the stuff you hear about in the Pacific, like washing machines and, TVs and stuff floating around, but Annette saw a boat like an old wooden
Yeah, but
fishing
that's
boat,
like-
but
That's different. Though.
I know it's a
think
bit different,
The
but-
plastic part was.
Yeah.
there was a lot of plastic floating around.
bottles, random items, like entire plastic crates.
Yeah.
Like, there was
Yeah.
definitely that. And the other thing that was really upsetting was when we were still in Bermuda, and just before we left, there were all these east winds. And we went to some of the beaches, and it's just scattered with. So
Like
garbage,
plastic
like-
trash.
It
Yeah.
was quite sad to see.
not good.
Apart from that, on our way between Bermuda and the Azores, I was like, what is all that like weird plastic thing looking? And I soon realized that those were man of war jellyfishes floating around, and we saw them all the way from Bermuda to here.
Yeah.
Every minute there would be one, a new one, like passing us.
Yeah, they were
It's like,
pretty. They were really pretty, but definitely
Yeah,
don't want to
you don't
tangle with
want
one.
to. Yeah, no, you don't want to touch them.
I think further south there's flying fish, and further north there's the.
Yeah, we had
jellies.
very few flying fish after we
I
got
didn't
to
really see
Bermuda.
any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So then we
So-
got south.
Well, when we say south, it's 37 degrees of latitude, which is around the same latitude as the Chesapeake. And it was still quite warm. And at this point, it was a little exceptional because we really expected that once out of Bermuda, we would continue north and go into 39, 40, and even 41, which are much colder latitudes. But we stayed relatively south at 37,
It's quite pleasant there.
and it
Yeah.
was very warm.
It was nice.
It was not too bad.
Yeah.
It was warm.
So we just carried on, pretty uneventful, day in day out. Not much happened.
Very
we
nice.
We would get the seas would sometimes kick up for like what we would describe as no reason, but what we realized is we were going through some of these these Gulf Stream current eddies, and they were just throwing the seas around. So some days for like a half a day, the seas would be a little uncomfortable, and the boat would be doing weird things, and the seas would get like really big, and then at night they'd like die way down. All of a sudden, it was strange, but that was what was happening. Then the big event for us was our Iridium Go died.
Okay, no, wait. Like, oh, okay.
What?
Well, that's just where we are in the story.
That's where we are.
I know, but what a way to introduce the story. What? So at this point, guys, it is the 3rd of July, and a lot of you were looking at our live tracker, the one that somebody said is still says that we are at sea, and our dot stopped moving
Super in the middle of the Atlantic.
in the middle of nowhere, and it's 4 a.m. in the morning on the night between Friday and Saturday. And Ryan comes and wakes me up and is like, we do not have the Iridium Go anymore. And the Iridium Go is our satellite router, which we use to communicate with land with. It's very, the functions are fairly limited, but we get to download updated weather forecasts. We get to send emails to Willem, your husband, who was our shore support. And in case of an emergency, this is what we would use to call somebody. It's our sat phone. And that thing is dead. Nothing. No more emails, no more weather forecasts, no more weather routing. And for you guys, it looked like, nothing, because nothing happened on our website. Nobody
I
received.
think a lot of people got worried because they
Yes.
thought that maybe we sunk or something, but it was just our
Or
sat
that-
tracker.
or
went
that
down.
there was a man overboard. I think that a lot of you understood that something must have been wrong with our comms. But, the day after when our satellite link was down, I imagined that if it was you at sea and I couldn't see the dot moving and I couldn't hear anything from you, there is no way that my mind would not wander to the worst case scenario until I know that something is okay. Like I would definitely go to those places.
Yeah.
Something must have happened. And I think that we were all, we were trying to keep the spirits up because at this point we are alone in the ocean. This is the situation that we have to deal with. We have no other choice. And if we all panic about it, it's definitely not going to make the situation better. But we were more worried about people worrying about us. And our strategy was, so first off, do you want to talk about this backup that we had? It was,
I mean, years ago when I first got into
Quotation
adventure
marks,
exploration stuff in the mountains, I bought an InReach when they were first coming out. So we had this old Garmin InReach on the boat. Back then it was actually called a DeLorme. They got bought by Garmin. So it's actually an old DeLorme unit. And but the problem was, so it works, but it's not activated, and you can't activate it unless you have internet, which is kind of silly because it's like for explorers. So we needed a way to activate this InReach, and if we got it working, we could at least send SMS and get some weather that way and get some routing that way, because we still had half the trip to go, and we were just out searching for the wind. So we had to come up with a plan on how we were going to get some internet.
Yep.
In the middle of the ocean.
And so our idea was that, so at this point, what we needed was to call another ship and ask for assistance. And so we have, okay, I'm going to backtrack a few steps, but we have patrons. Hi guys, thank you. And in our Patreon, we have a WhatsApp group, and people talk to each other. And in this group, there was a screenshot of how the ocean looked like in terms of traffic. And it looked like the Atlantic was crowded. But in reality, we saw nobody. Our AIS only picks up very strong signals. And for 24 hours, we saw no one. After our satellite link died, we saw nobody at sea.
Maybe no longer than that.
Yeah, it was like we felt a little bit alone.
We were like, is this gonna happen? I don't know. Now, of course, we need something, and we don't see anything.
But so 2 days later, it is now Sunday. We lose the Iridium on Friday. On Sunday, I see an AIS target pop up for like 10 seconds, and it disappears. So we try calling on the radio, see if there is anybody around and if they can pick up our message. So Ryan's like, all ships, this is Paul Lucille. If you receive this message, can you please get back to us on channel 16? And to our surprise, they answer. The thing is, when I saw their AIS target pop up, they were going the opposite direction, much faster than us. And they were about 30 nautical miles away, which is really far. And
for the VHF.
For the VHF. Yeah. And Ryan asked them in 30 seconds, hi, we have lost our satellite link. Could you please contact our shore support at this phone number, give him these numbers to activate the InReach, and ask him to activate our InReach? And they did it. And 5 minutes later, we received a radio call back from that ship, a tanker ship called Thorm Timothy.
Thorm Timothy. Yes.
Telling us that they had talked to Willem, but he needed our account logins to activate the InReach. And we're like, oh, that's it. We're screwed.
But we had time for him to call us back.
Yes.
And then even tell him to call Willem back, saying that we don't know. Sorry, we're out of information here.
We did, yeah. It went pretty fast, but then the last message we received was like really garbled, and he was like, can't get a hold of customer support Monday. And we're like, all right, we can't hear you anymore. Goodbye.
That's it. So
that's exactly
so then we just went in this wait mode, because it was on the 4th of July, which was a Sunday. So we're like, well, maybe you can get a hold of customer support on the Monday. And the device never activated on Monday. So we're like, well, maybe they were closed Monday because of the 4th. And Tuesday, didn't hear anything.
Well, I think on Monday we kept hitting that activate button over and over and over. And then maybe Tuesday morning, but I think by Tuesday afternoon we kind of forgot about it, didn't think of it, and went on with our lives. And at that point, our halfway party would have been on Sunday, right, Sophie? But it was, I don't know, maybe it was bad weather or something. Yeah, it was rolly and it was not ideal. And then the same thing on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we're like, all right, we're doing this. This is fine weather. Let's just do our little halfway party.
Yeah.
And as you were preparing the food for that, Ryan and I were sitting upstairs in the cockpit, and all of a sudden we just hear a little noise, and Ryan's like, what was that? And I was like, I don't know, maybe it's the music. And he's like, picks up the InReach, and he just gives me this smirk. It was so funny. And he's like, he didn't want to say anything so Sophie doesn't hear. But then of course Sophie was like, what's going on?
I was down in the galley, and I heard something happen. It was like, What's happening up
Like
here?
they stopped chatting or whatever it was. I don't know. But it was really funny. And then what was it, Ryan? You said that it was activating, but you couldn't check. Oh yeah, you couldn't check a message.
Yeah, I couldn't check the message, but yeah, it was fun. It started working, which was great. Apparently, Willem had to do some very strong words coaxing with Garmin because they wouldn't let him into the account and stuff, which to me is like, it's mind-boggling that a company, I mean, I'm going to thrash on Garmin in here, but this isn't the first time I've heard this from other companies as well. Like, you have people out doing the things that their devices are for. It's for people who are out in the wilderness, out of reach of normal communications, and they need help, and they put up a fight about it. Like, Garmin's like, well, we can't give you the access to the account. He's like, yeah, but they can't access the account. They're in the middle of the ocean. Like, we need to get this going. I heard a story. This is off topic. I heard a story once of a climber who was like dying on the side of on a Nepalese mountain, and they were trying to find him, but he didn't know his location. He called on the sat phone, and so his buddies were like calling Iridium to say, can you give us the location of his last call? And they said no for privacy reasons. They're like, he's dying on the mountain. So
well, it's like a catch-22 for them too.
Yeah,
but thankfully, Willem was there and persistent, and it took a little bit.
So we made it work, and that was like our big failure of the trip. But it was also a great experience for us. And I thought, for me, it's kind of a crappy event. I got really like depressed by the whole thing because we were really like shooting in the dark on where to find wind. But
I think for maybe by day 4, right? 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Because we were without the connection for 4 days, and it's just a different mindset. And even though you try to not be down about it, it can get to you. And of course, and especially when we're having this awful night of
I think
motoring.
we lost the inReach, and then like the boat got rolling. Well, anyways, I think that we tried to call other ships after the Torm Timothy to just get a weather update. We kind of had given up on Willem because there's only so much he could do. But
you had given up on Willem?
No, I mean,
I'm pretty sure that he would never say that of us.
No, but I mean,
I could have gave up on Ryan and Sophie and Annette.
He can only do so much. I understand, but I knew he was working hard. But we were trying to get a hold of other ships just to get like a basic weather forecast. Like, hey guys, where's the wind at? And we couldn't find anybody. So that was like getting really depressing and annoying. But then when we got this back, so that was like our big failure. It was a great experience. I've heard of other ships calling other ships and passing messages, and we got to do it ourselves. And I think for me, at least, it was cool because it was in keeping with all of the traditions of sailing in the high seas and what it's about and helping each other. And I think it's a cool story to pass along to like anybody watching here, because it just shows like you have to get creative sometimes, and everybody should help each other out while we're out there, because we all need each other. So that was a cool story. And it ended up working out. But
it was such a great moment when the inReach came back.
It was. We were having like a party in the cockpit. It was
our attitudes definitely changed.
And here we are. All right, guys, we have literally been talking for 33 minutes. And
but then we made it. A week later. It was
I think one other fun part after the inReach came back was the fact that before it even came back, we decided to turn north. So at that point we were going north, and because we knew that that's where the wind would be, so we switched from like a heading of 90 something degrees, 90 to 100 to about 30. And in the morning I came upstairs and Sophie grabs the camera, which means like she's gonna tell me something really important. But anyways, she turns to me and she's like, guess who I saw on AIS? And I'm like, Zanzibar. She was like, yes. And that was such a happy moment, really.
Yeah,
really. It was so fun to have Zanzibar next to us again. Was amazing.
Zanzibar was a boat we left with, and we stayed with them for a few days, and they were always behind us. But then once we lost our SATCOMs, we couldn't communicate with them. They weren't on AIS. We didn't know where they went. And then when we turned north, we ran into another boat, and we were calling for Zanzibar, and they're like, hey, are you looking for Zanzibar? We're like, yeah. They're like, we passed them a few days ago. They went north. We're like, okay, they must know something we don't. So we went north, and then we ended up running into them the next day in the big ocean, which is wild. And we stayed with them the rest of the way.
Which we would have done without getting our communications back. So we would have found them. We would have had contact with land that way. So either way, it was just very, very nice.
It was cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So what is our backup next time?
I think for economy reasons, we're going to stick with the InReach, but we're going to actually have it activated before we leave. They make a new InReach device. The problem with the old ones and even the new ones that they have is that you have to have like a phone connected to them, which is the same as the Iridium Go. But texting is like a major pain because like the app wasn't working well with the device. And they make a device now that's like a smartphone, so you can text right on the device. And I actually think instead of having to use two devices, this would be better. So maybe we spend the money to buy that as the backup. It's a few $100s.
I think that it's worth noting that if you are not going to be at sea for more than a week, so max 7 days, you can absolutely leave shore without a satellite backup. It's totally fine. It's when you are at sea for a longer period that you really need that satellite backup because, you're longer at sea, so emergency can happen. You need your updated weather forecast because your weather forecast is not going to take you all the way to destination. And you probably want to have some kind of contact with shore and have some shore support in case something breaks. And when you're longer at sea, things break more. There's more risk. And with that said, I want to address this. Hi, Cyrus. It's nice to see you. We have heard a lot since we came back about how we should have an SSB for backup or how SSB is the way to go and such thing. And first off, I want to say that SSB is not infallible. Like SSB can absolutely break. SSB, to have SSB signal, you need to have strong propagation. That's what it's called. And it is not guaranteed. Even Zanzibar, our buddy boat who was working with SSB radio and an InReach, had very weak propagation on the last days of our crossing and had a hard time downloading their weather forecast because of that. And for us, installing an SSB would be a huge cost. It would be thousands of dollars plus a pretty solid installation that we would need to do. And although Ryan is very intrigued by the concept of SSB and is like, oh, we should have one.
I would. Oh no.
Oh no.
Are we frozen?
We have frozen. No, I think that it's one of those things where it's just my laptop that freezes and.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh, this is bad. Like my entire laptop has frozen.
Oh.
No.
No, don't.
Oh my god.
Oh. What's happening? Okay, now we're back.
We're back. Sorry.
Oh,
No, see, exactly. We are not. we are not frozen.
This happens all the time.
It happens sometimes. We're like, oh my god, we're out. We're out.
So, yeah, sorry.
So Ryan really wants an SSB because it's cool, it's techy, and you can talk to ships all around the world with it. But it's just too much money, and for us, it's just a lot less expensive and a lot more practical to keep a Garmin InReach with an active subscription this time as a backup. And again, we're only going to have it as a backup when we cross an ocean, which is not going to happen very often.
Yeah, I would love to have SSB, but it's like $3,000 or $4,000 to install one. There's a lot of weight associated with it, and we're running out of room on a polar seal. So whoever gets this boat next is going to have a pretty awesome setup, anyways. But on the next boat, I think SSB would be awesome to have. So I'll put it on the wish list. But yeah, I think we're going to stick with the Iridium Go. And in fact, so the Iridium Go definitely died. We got ours through Predict Wind. I'm going to plug them a little bit. So we bought ours from Predict Wind. We bought it from them. They never sent it to us like for free or anything. And their customer support has always been really good. Willem messaged them on the way to see if there's something we could do to fix it. Once we got some communication back, they said, no, it's probably dead. And when we got back on shore, I had like a half an hour like texting conversation with them, and we already have a new one on the way. So they have been really, really awesome with their customer support. So if you're going to buy one, you can look at them as an option for being your supplier. I think they're pretty good. Yeah.
So what actually happened to the Iridium Go, we still do not know, and I don't think that we will. Although today we get a really interesting comment from one of you guys about what could have happened to it. So the Iridium Go wouldn't stop reinitializing. So it would keep on rebooting all the time, reboot. And we tried to do factory resets, and it would not pick up any signal, and it would keep rebooting. The thing is absolutely dead. So we don't know exactly what happened. It could be that it had been overcharged, or that it had been on for too long, because we had kept at this point the Iridium on for a month and a half.
It kept sending our location from Bermuda too, so it was definitely on
So
for a long time.
it could be our fault, but we do not know. And also, if you are supposed to turn off your Iridium Go, if it's not the type of material that is supposed to be on all the time, we didn't know about it. So maybe it would be worth having a little chat with Iridium when we receive the new one.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know.
All right, Ryan, I see you scouting in the comment
There have
section.
been so many good questions.
Yes.
Let's go back to the one, what did we eat in Bermuda and what did we eat in Horta?
All right, let's do this. Are you okay with that, Ryan?
Yeah.
This is important.
I'm just trying to find questions.
It is quite far back. So
The computer's like a long ways away from
That
us,
was
so it's not-
that was one of the first questions
okay, so what did we eat
in Bermuda.
in Bermuda?
We did.
Why don't you just? Yeah.
We did go
here,
get
I'll-
the burger and the beer that we talked about, which was great.
Well, we
was-
ate a lot in Bermuda because we were there for so long.
Our first meal was the question. After
Oh, the
we got
first
there.
meal, yeah. I actually had
Yes.
a pizza.
Yeah, just because you have.
I wanted a burger, but
prefer
then I ended up going with pizza.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when we got to Horta, we could not get off the boat the first day
Yeah.
because
We were
got
quarantined.
here
We were,
6 p.m. or so.
yeah.
And there were no options for COVID tests at that point or really anything. We knew we had to wait till the next morning. And so here, some of you may know, Peter Cafe Sport is
The
place
institution,
to go.
They
and
delivered.
they
have
delivered.
also arranged to be the only restaurant that actually is approved to deliver to the boats in quarantine. So they were
Brought us a
incredible
burger. And beers.
and brought us so much
And
food.
wine.
They did. They brought us a bunch of stuff.
It was really good.
And yes, the rum swizzle.
That was in Bermuda.
Not only.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
only
that's right.
wine,
That's
not
right.
only-
This is an important
Okay,
detail.
so hello, ray of sunshine. I really enjoyed rum swizzle. It's this drink that originated in Bermuda. It's a cocktail. It's not too sweet. It's very fruity, and it hides alcohol very well. And so I can have a lot of them until I realize that I've had too many of them, and it's too late. But it's really good, and it's cost me a few headaches already. But when we arrived in Horta, a friendly soul, Thomas, our boat neighbor, a Bermuda native, had gifted us with a bottle of rum swizzle
At that point, I think that was the second bottle of rum swizzle
that he gifted us. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh God, yeah. And
But this one made it across the Atlantic.
okay. And Ryan, that's because we sail sober.
Yes, of
We
course.
we sail sober, but everything that we do not drink on the boat at sea, we drink on land. And I've been doing a lot of catch up this last week. It's not very good. Ryan doesn't drink rum swizzle, so every bottle of rum swizzle that lands on this boat is consumed by solely Annette and I. And we have been very efficient with them, I would say.
Yeah.
And on the night that we arrived here, in 1 hour, it was gone.
It was
I think
it was
it was
gone
1
very
hour.
fast.
I think it was 1 hour.
Okay.
Annette. It was 1 hour. It was very
It was
fast.
very nice to have.
But here I am, alive, here to testify. Rum swizzle is great. Yeah. Okay. Next
Moving
question,
on.
Ryan, please.
Alex, well, here.
Well, just click it.
So Alex asked a question. This is a kind of a deep question. What's our feeling about having disabled crew members, like missing a hand or another appendage, I guess? Do not hesitate to be honest. I have thick skin. So this is a really interesting question. When we were in the Med, there was a boat sailing around that we ran into quite a few times that had, I think it was 2 crew members in wheelchairs in it. And the boat was built that way, that they could maneuver around in the wheelchairs. And I think most of the lines went back. And they had no problem sailing that boat. It was really, really cool to watch what they did. And we've seen everything from really old to really young, to having disabilities of all different kinds. So I personally don't consider the disability like a limiting factor. If you can sail and you know how to work around your disability, we all have our own things we work around. That it's fine. It's more for us. It's always more of an issue of how do we get along with our crew, and do we trust our crew versus having physical limitations like that. So that's my personal opinion on it.
Yeah.
Would you say the same? You were probably looking.
Sorry, yeah, I was.
It's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
No, that's how I feel about it, and I feel really strongly about it. There's no reason why you can't. We've seen it all. Would you agree, Annette?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel. So I don't think you should let that hold you back if that's your situation. So that's my opinion.
There were a bunch of questions about the crossing in the beginning.
About the crossing.
Scroll back up.
Your turn.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, I'm sorry, guys. I'm still a bit tired and recovering from the crossing. It usually takes a little bit of time. I think that the last time that we crossed, it took us 10 days before we felt that we were back into our normal shape.
I feel pretty good.
Well, thanks for your support here.
Yeah, but it's fine. I understand.
But I'm still quite tired. And thank you guys for understanding that we needed to postpone the live when it was on Friday. I was really not feeling great at all, and it's good to see you all now. Okay. So the result of us talking for 30 minutes at the beginning is that there are not a lot of questions.
Ask questions, guys. Any questions you have? It doesn't have to just be about the crossing. It could be about anything sailing related.
So we invested I don't know if you were here for the last live, but the last live I was testing this new service that allows us to pop up questions on the screen, which is pretty cool because for the people who cannot watch the live directly, they can look at it later and then look back and forth in the questions.
I have a question.
Oh, you do?
I have a question for Annette.
Oh God.
Annette and I got along extremely well on this Atlantic crossing.
Whatever that means.
I think that you are like this. Your style, Ryan, is often that you give you joke a lot, but you give people a lot of jokey shit.
Okay, but that's not my question.
No.
That's not my question. Annette, you live on a catamaran.
Yes.
And you have sailed across oceans on a catamaran. I mean, not like this way, but you went south, north, south. How was the experience being on a monohull compared? What did you feel? Like you're stepping off the boat now. What are you going to come away from it when people ask you, like, how was it on the monohull?
Certainly moved. Certainly moved more.
Certainly moved more. Okay.
In different ways. But I will say it was a learning experience for me to move around inside. And to first passage, let's see, I think I did the dishes once, which is to say that I didn't feel so good. But of course, that passage we were very seasick. Mm-hmm. So that also mattered. And when you're seasick, you come downstairs for a couple seconds and it's over. But second one, much, much better. I know the first one was probably the worst that we could have started with, super bouncy. And the second one, we got such a kind start from the ocean and the weather that I felt very lucky about that. It was an easy start, really. Mm-hmm. I think we can say that. And the boat movements were much, much better. And I think the second one showed me, the great parts about it, especially when we pulled out the jib and you could just immediately feel the boat's movements change. And so it just moves in different ways. Catamarans can be uncomfortable too. So that's really it. And the only other thing is when we're just, sitting at anchor, it moves a tiny bit more than but Annette actually taught us something on our own boat.
She did.
On the autopilot, we never really used wind tracker mode. And Annette uses...
Do you want to explain what wind tracker mode is?
So if we have the wind set to be like at a certain angle, like right on the side of the boat, let's say, as the wind shifts a little bit throughout the day, the boat will also shift its heading. We usually use heading mode, which means it just will track a certain heading regardless of what the winds do. And when you're sailing deep downwind, that can be a bit dangerous because the winds might come around to the other side, which you don't want.
And I think on the open ocean too, right? It's just generally nicer because you set up the sails a certain way. They work for a certain wind angle, and it's nice if the boat
until you
does that for you, and your heading isn't that big of a deal if it changes. It shifts like 30 degrees or so,
and it makes sailing downwind somewhat safer.
Yeah, much safer.
Yeah, because you can leave the autopilot on, and literally the only thing that could potentially like wipe your sail setup would be a big squall, which at this time, if you're on watch doing a good job, you would see coming and you would do something about it.
I think we started it with the Jenniker going north to Bermuda.
That's
is
right.
when I asked you for it, because we had, I guess I had trimmed the sail a certain way, and I could see, where it was most efficient.
And it worked really well for that. And that's how we actually ended up able to sail almost the whole way to Bermuda, was that.
Yeah.
So good job. Thank you.
We used it the entire way.
Here is a great question from an Iowa friend. Hello, Iowa, guys. Oops, sorry. Okay, how much better was it for having an extra crew on board? It was amazing. It was so good. It made the entire experience so much better. But I think that the reason why is not because we had an extra crew, because it was a good one. No, because you were great. We had so much fun having you on board, and like you really added something to the passage. I mean, on top of, we had no doubt that we could trust you with taking care of the boat. We could go to bed, sleep, know that like you would be doing the same thing that we do, and we had a lot of fun. So it was.
Annette has
great.
actually been on board the Polar Seal for almost 7 weeks.
I think it's 7 weeks.
7 weeks today.
Yeah,
I think
like
so.
That,
2 months. Annette just left the boat officially today. Went to a hotel here in Horta, and I do not blame you for that. I'm like, well, if I could, I would.
I'm a bit sad.
Ryan is. It's okay, Ryan. She'll be back. She'll be back. But we had. It made the passage a lot more fun and a lot less tiring and stressful. But again, it was not because we had one extra person. It was because it was a good extra person.
Yeah.
And I think we can say we got along.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it was fun. I had a really good time. All right. Where will you set sail in the upcoming months?
Okay.
I can answer that.
Go for it.
No, go for it.
We on Thursday of next week, unfortunately, need to leave Horta, which we feel is a bit too soon. The Azores are awesome. We were told every island's different. There's 7 islands or so, 8 islands. But we have to sail to San Miguel, which is the capital, but it's on the far east side of the archipelago, so 150 miles away. And so we're going to miss a lot of the islands, but Sophie and I are going to take a bit of a boat break for the next 5 weeks or so.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason why we're taking a boat break is because for the first time in 2 years, we have the opportunity to go see our families. Yeah. And, well, guys, I mean, I'm sure that you relate. After a while, when you haven't seen your families, it's just time to go. And we need to do that.
So Sophie's going to go to Paris. I'm going to go to Iowa. And there's no room here in Horta for us to leave our boat.
Which is really sad. We tried long in advance, 2 months ago, before we even left Bonaire to book a spot here. We tried again in Bermuda to see if it was okay. They told us, no problem, just come and we'll find you a spot. And we arrived and there was nothing for us. And the sad thing is that there is nothing for us either in the neighboring islands. So we're going to be missing a whole bunch of the Azores because there is no sleep for us at a marina except in São Miguel, which is an island much farther south. So we're a little bit disappointed about it, but that's life. And we really need to see our families. So
we're going to go there. And then after that, we'll spend a little time there and then go to Madeira, which is another island. It's not part of the Azores, but it is part of Portugal. And we'll spend a little bit of time there before heading to the Canaries. Spend some time there. And then we will head back across the Atlantic.
Yay! Double Atlantic crossing. Woohoo! Okay. We're going to take a little break talking about crossing. We just have to celebrate this. All right.
Oh, yes.
Yes! Congratulations!
Amazing. That's so
this
exciting.
is amazing. Oh my God. This kind of comment
Love to
always.
hear a 38-foot boat too.
Yes.
That's awesome.
catamaran, SV Herky. Shani, congratulations and good luck. And we hope to see you on Anchor. All right.
Go back up. Go to Anne's question. Go to Anne's question.
And
No, down.
Is it down? Okay.
This one.
All right.
All right. So we have a boat.
yes.
No, yeah. Now that you've done a couple crossings, do you think anything different versus a heavier, fuller keel?
That's a good question.
Oh,
Great question.
That's a loaded question.
We asked Annette so many times on this passage, how would the catamaran feel like this? How would
We're talking
so
about
many times.
versus a
But
heavier
this is a
full
different
keel
question.
blue water sailboat,
Yeah.
the chunky boat that our sailing instructor wanted us to buy.
Right.
I actually think
We have opinions.
I think a bit heavier boat, a bit bigger boat would be nicer. The problem with the I don't have an issue with the fin keels like we have now that are bolted on. I don't have an issue with that. I know there's lots of debate about that online. That's fine. I think they work just fine. The problem I see with the production boats that we experienced all the way up to Bermuda is going upwind, and if the seas are in a certain way, the boat will slam. And we slammed for days and days and days. And up when you're up in the cockpit, you don't hear it so much, like when you're on watch. But when you're down, like sleeping on the settee where we are now, it can be really loud. And sometimes the boat would slam and it would wake you up, and you're like, oh my God, like, are we gonna have water coming in? It just like rocked the whole boat. And that got, like, first off, it's just loud and it's hard to sleep and it's hard to think. And there's so much noise. I think on the second passage, I came up one day and I was like, I cannot handle the noise anymore. Like, the boat's loud.
Yeah.
The waves are just so much noise in the back.
But do you think that a heavier boat would make less noises?
Maybe not so much the noise. I think it would, depending on the design of the hull, I think it needs to be a little bit more cut down so it slices the waves. It would.
How many times have you been sailing on that type of boat?
A couple.
Oh, you mean, yeah, you've been sailing on the Swans.
Yeah.
The 59 or Swan. Okay.
But the problem is then going downwind, these boats perform a lot better because they're flatter on the bottom. So.
And who wants to sail upwind anyways?
Yeah.
So the reality is, and it's funny that you ask because this is going to be the topic of my next video, the first video that I will publish after this 2-month break. It's about how we equipped Polar Seal to cross oceans. And a lot of people, especially in the comment section of YouTube videos, will argue that production boats such as ours are not designed or made to cross oceans. And I fully disagree. And the beauty of it is you don't even have to take my word. You can just look at the list of boats that cross the Atlantic or oceans on the Ark. It's 90% production boats. And it's not about how they are designed. It's more about how you equip them to make them comfortable. Are they energy efficient? Do you feel comfortable with the water that you have on board? Or do you feel comfortable with the quantity of fuel that you can take with you? For me, it's more like the equipment that we have on board that matters a lot more than the design of the boat itself. And again, most of the time when you're going to do an ocean crossing, at least 99% of us sailors, we're going to go downwind. We're going to catch trade winds, or we're going to try to get a weather window that takes us downwind. And our boat is lighter than a full keel blue water sailboat. So it will go faster. And the faster you go at sea, the less risky it becomes, because you spend less day at sea. And so I love our boat. I love Polar Seal. But during this passage, I was like, everybody sailing that a Beneteau cannot cross an ocean is full of this boat is great and I love it.
But there are things like our boat could be a bit bigger, I think, just to support the crew situation.
I agree with
like we
that.
make it work with a net. If we wanted an extra person to 4, it would be really tough.
Be
what do you
difficult.
think?
3 is max.
3 is
for sure.
max on
Yeah.
this boat, even though it's.
But a lot of time, you asked me, what do I think Polar Seal is missing, and I couldn't really come up with anything. I mean, at this point, it's so well equipped.
Yeah. We had a very comfortable crossing. Apart from our iridium go dying, everything else worked fine. We were able to take showers every day. We ate really well. So well. It was great. Your mom asked a question, Ryan.
My mom.
Yes, your
Oh,
mom.
gosh.
Here, Mary, stop.
Wait, where?
Here.
Oh.
All right. Say hi to Ryan's mom. Hi.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mom.
Thanks for always saying hello to
She's
me
our
while we
biggest
were
fan.
out on the ocean.
She's our biggest fan.
This is a question for Annette. Guys, if you have questions for Annette, go ahead, even if they are compromising for us. We talked about this before this
Preferred.
live.
No,
We briefed.
We would prefer.
It's
you
okay.
can get all the gossip on
It's
Sophie
okay.
and I.
Oh gosh. Okay. I have. Let's see. So 7 weeks is how long I've been away from home, and my plans now are to go to Hungary, which I will be doing at the end of this week because my parents said that I cannot sail across the ocean to Europe without going home, because that's where I'm from. And then I am going to make my way back to the States. So it's going to be a long trip, but I'm very excited that I had the opportunity to do this.
All right. Guys, I really we should really address this.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Without Sophie. Oh, go ahead, Annette. You're gonna say.
Okay,
what
go
I'm gonna
ahead,
say.
Annette. You have to answer
Okay,
this.
so this takes me back to shopping with Sophie and Bonaire. So
Shopping for food. For food.
Yes, shopping for food. Let's see. I think I was maybe suggesting some ready-made things like soups, and Sophie was like, no. And then pasta, and then Sophie was like, no. And then it's because she's such an amazing chef, and she does prefer to make everything fresh because it is so much better that way. But I just found it funny that, even just like a little bit of ready-made soup, which something would be okay on our boat, because sometimes you really just don't feel like doing anything else than warming something up. But then it's because, we prepared a whole lot.
If Sophie would have just disappeared off the boat, been taken by space aliens and not overboard, but and then returned once we arrived, what would have happened to you and I? What do you think?
I think I would have had maybe popcorn to eat. What was your choice on food?
I think we decided we would be eating a lot of biscuits.
Ingredients,
yeah, like peanut butter and jelly. That would probably be a fancy meal. Yeah. We might have died.
We talked about this a lot because she just keeps us.
Annette and I aren't really
so
the cooks.
Well fed.
So that's probably what would have happened.
So sorry, this question to us, unfortunately, it's not something that we talk about or think about because we don't even do.
We don't even. What is
prepared foods?
Dear Cherry, the reason why is because. At least in our case, is because I cook a lot in advance and I make sure that we have all types of different food ready to be eaten and warmed up. And they are so much better than freeze-dried food and canned food. That is why, in our case.
Oh.
All right. Okay, Annette, will you?
I like the thinking, Mary. Maybe I should reconsider.
Will you be flying home?
No, I will be flying home.
All right. This is another food question. Okay, how long did the fresh fruit last beyond Bermuda?
It got in my belly.
Wait, no, but this is a great question because the only fresh fruit we had actually
were apples.
We
bought a lot of apples.
They were measured in gold. I mean, they were so expensive in Bermuda, but we bought a bunch of them. Like, I don't know, 2-3 bags.
Yeah.
And how long did it last, Ryan?
I made it. I always have an apple when I go on night watch. When I get up there at midnight, I eat my apple. It holds me over till 4 a.m. And I had the last apple on the last night watch.
Because
Annette stopped eating because she knew there would be a mutiny.
Wow.
Wait, not mutiny.
No, I had one every other day, and I think that the last one I didn't have. But it was perfect. Like, the apples lasted,
it lasted just
the entire
enough.
way, and they did not spoil.
Yeah.
They were
which
great.
Is, because we're not in the Caribbean weather finally, and so...
And we provisioned so well.
Yeah,
there was very little waste. There was a little waste. You always need to plan for a little bit of waste when you provision for a long passage.
Especially in the tropics.
But we did very, very well. So
we had to throw a few things out, but nothing.
Okay. This is such an interesting question. Do any of you have any type of craft or personal projects to keep you occupied during the long transit period? All right, guys, go ahead.
Wait, no, you should start because you do have a project that keeps you occupied.
Yeah, I'm so sad about it. So every day when I'm out, well, first off, I film a lot because that's what I do and I love it. I have so many great videos coming out. I just need to sit my butt and find the time to start editing, which is not going to happen before next week, I think. But I would write a daily blog on our website. And when the Iridium Go died, that daily blog never got to be published. And I am slowly catching up. But I wrote everything. So I continued my daily writing every day until we arrived. I just need to publish it on the website. But it will be there if any of you want to continue here the adventure. And I think that eventually what I'm going to do is to put it together into a little book with some photos of our crossing. I'm going to try to be a little more serious about the writing, and I'll put this little map of where we were in the ocean at the time that this was written. So stay tuned. I'm gonna try. I don't want to make it like a hard commitment to it. It will be published by the end of the year, but it would be super cool.
It's a fun project. Ryan, do you have one of these?
My project was to stay sane. I'm really bad at staying busy on the boat. I'm really, really bad at it. Like, I played all the games I could play on my phone. I read a book, which for me is a big deal.
And you loved it.
It was a really good book.
Yeah.
What the book I read on the last ocean crossing was called Command and Control. It's about nuclear arms. And then this one was called The Spy and the Traitor. And this is a cool story. I know this is
you would recommend.
This is a sweet story. It's about...
Don't give it away.
No. I'm telling you what it's about. It's about a KGB officer in the Cold War who defected to Britain. And it's the whole story about how it worked and what happened to him and his family and how the whole system worked over the years that he was involved. It's a super cool story. I got so into it, so I read that book.
I would say I don't necessarily have a craft or such a project, but I really enjoy the time away from the everyday life when we're at sea, and so I use that to think about bigger visions, whether that's for the company or personal. So kind of like, you're able to put everything aside, your normal busy life, and you come up with ideas and you get to talk with friends. And so we had really good conversations, I think. And when I'm out in the ocean, and I think a little bit of a different mindset, perhaps more creative, I tried to take notes of things that I'm thinking of. So when I get back to land and I am bombarded with so much more information that I remember.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay. Anything you wish you'd have on board to help with comfort? These guys realized they needed better cushions.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, you know what? Towards the end of this passage, I actually started thinking about the cushions. I know we had them replaced like a year ago, but like my ass was starting to get sore. Did you feel that? Did you feel that?
I think the pillows helped.
I think that the pillows helped.
I think we need to consider the cushions.
Ryan gave me a lot of a bit of a hard time when I bought cushions, especially for the cockpit. So they are cushions that are made to be outdoors. And Ryan was like, "What? Are we getting more cushions?"
Sophie, this boat has like 50 cushions.
Well, tell me that there were too many of them in the cockpit when we crossed.
There were too many.
Who would like to hear more about this? Just kidding.
All right, next. Okay. No, just go right down because there's a couple good questions in a row.
Anyways,
how did our old crusty sail fare? Okay,
wait. So first off, we don't have one; we have two.
But also, we just don't call it crusty and old.
No,
they call it vintage.
Antique. No, it's antique at this point.
And it's like fine wine, I guess.
The jib is vintage. It's 15 years old. Our Jenniker is antique, and both of them were MVPs of our passage.
The jib did awesome.
When the jib was fantastic to sail upwind. We could not have done that passage to Bermuda comfortably on the Genoa. It would have been a nightmare. The boat would have been overpowered and it would have been so difficult, but we were just fine on the jib. And in the last day before we arrived to Bermuda, we didn't think that we could sail, and we popped out the spinnaker, the Jenniker, which is from the 90s, so it's 30 years old. It's antique, and it was white at some day. Now it's brown and moldy, and it smells. But she got a bit of air, and she took us at 4.5 knots in 6-7 knots of wind, and amazing.
So we do have new sails coming. Hopefully,
now for the second part.
Hopefully those sails will be in
Ponta
Delgada
when we'll know for sure when you get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pizza stone.
What's up with the pizza stone? We have a pizza stone.
Sophie.
You
No,
didn't
but
tell me.
okay, no, but like okay, so guys, my oven is not great to bake, and the solution for my oven to be better at baking would be to get a pizza stone. And Luis knows where to get a pizza stone. I'm like, how am I going to get it here? It's not like I can just order a pizza stone on Amazon in a small island in Bermuda or the Azores.
Would it be allowed on the boat for all the weight?
Yeah, pizza stone, definitely.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Okay, so
I could get rid of some tools.
no pizzas were made on this passage.
But there was bread, and that was tasty.
There was bread. There was bacon bread, and there was chocolate bread.
And there was tiramisu. Oh my gosh. It was one of my down days.
Mhm.
And Sophie turned it around.
Yeah. Oh, this is a question for you, Ryan.
Where?
Here.
Oh, the anti-fouling that I put on, how's it holding up? Well,
Do you want to talk about that anti-fouling?
the anti-fouling is a silicon-based anti-fouling, so it doesn't use biocides in it to like kill the growth. It just creates a slippery surface so the growth can't physically attach. It's working pretty well. I would give it like a 90% right now. I have some sections under the boat that are flaking off completely, and that's a little concerning. So I actually need to dive down under the boat now and just check to see if much more has come off, and if so, we might have to haul out. And it could be my fault because some of it I put on when it was a little moist out, so I'm not chalking it all up to Hempo quite yet. But that said, the boat has just been really clean, and when I have scrubbed it, it's taken me, like in Bermuda, I scrubbed it before we left, and I just used the boat brush for like the decks, and I brought it down with me. And I just used my snorkel gear, and I did the whole bottom in maybe 20 or 30 minutes. The prop isn't painted, which I probably should do at some point, and that's usually got the most growth on it. So yeah, it's working so far. But yeah, I'm hopefully in the next day or so I'll dive down and just see how those patches are that are flaking off. But so far so good, and I think it's actually adding to the boat speed. I know people are like, oh, but I really believe that like it helps. It's just smooth, so the boat glides a lot better through the water. Anyways.
All right, here's an amazing question. Thanks, Luis, for giving us an opportunity to talk about this.
That's very nice.
Okay, so Annette is the founder and CEO of Catamaran Supply, who's been amazing with us and is amazing, period. Team Catamaran Supply. I'm going to bust out that shirt like every time that we talk about this. We have an affiliate link.
Please use Ryan and Sophie's affiliate link. It's usually under.
Yeah, it's under all of our videos.
Yeah,
except this one.
So
there was no description on this video. I'm gonna
we'll set you up, Louis.
I'll put it in the video. But if you go on the chat of Catamaran Supply, you will end up talking directly to Annette or Willem, and get their fantastic service.
But it does help Ryan and Sophie if you use their link. Sophie.
Yeah, we get a small commission if you make purchases on Catamaran Supplies through your. But yeah, most of all, we just want people to know about you because I mean you're a small business, you're getting started, and we share so many of we share the same values when it comes to sailing and to doing business, and I think that the sailing world needed a little bit more modern approach to marine supply retailing, and I think that you guys are totally doing it, and it's really cool. All right. Oh, Ryan.
What?
I have there are so many good questions. What? Okay, first off, here I'm just going to show this one, and then you can continue to scroll. Just go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I heard about this, but.
God, this is Alan. This is it's really tough because I worked really hard to make drinking grog at Halfway Point a tradition, but I was censored. I was vetoed. Also, when we reached Halfway Point, the weather was really bad. We had big overcast the entire day, really hard sea state, and we had just lost the Iridium Go, so everybody was down. Nobody wanted to have a halfway party, myself included. And at the end of the day, there was no grog at Halfway Point, and I felt like I lost a big battle. The battle to make drinking grog at Halfway Point a tradition on Holy Seal. And I feel bad about this. All right.
I don't think we do, from what it sounds like.
No, I mean grog is great. Grog is this liquor made in Cape Verde, and it's the type of liquor that you have to work really hard at getting because you have to get to Cape Verde.
I see.
And like you would have to know about it, and it's not. You don't drink it for the taste. You drink it for the feeling of adventure that had to
You
happen.
drink it
for
if you want to vomit.
I had a feeling of adventure
If you want to
when
vomit,
we were
you can
sailing.
drink.
Oh god. Okay, moving on.
All right, or you can go get seasick. All right, so that's what happened. Okay, so when we left Bonaire, Sophie was doing a live when we left, and then I noticed the alternator wasn't charging the
And
batteries, and I got a
panic
little
ensued.
worried because, well, we kind of need that to charge the batteries in case. But what happened was I just didn't think it through. We were on the we've been on the shore power for so long, so the batteries were actually topped up, and I thought that we had maybe been using enough power that the batteries would need a little bit of a charge, but the alternator thought otherwise. So it was just in float mode and it wasn't producing any charge. So what I had did just to test it quick was I turned the electric water heater on. It uses like 100 amps, and immediately the alternator kicked on and it started working. So yes, I had a little freak out for no reason whatsoever, but you have to make sure that stuff works. And as we're going out, if it's not working, we would have had to gone back. So yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it worked. That's it. Next question, I guess.
Okay, we're gonna take the questions about catamaran supplies after because I can only talk about catamaran
just
supplies
super quick.
only we want. So this one is yes. Hi Philippe. How long does it take you to get into the passage groove and get your rhythm and feel comfortable with the boat motion? So it really depends on what the sea gives you that day. Yeah. When we left Bonaire, it took us an entire week to get into passage groove. We were seasick. We were exhausted. Upwind sailing really drains you in a way that no other point of sail does. On top of that, we had very choppy waves hitting us right on the beam, and the boat was slamming a lot. And it was just, a very difficult run. And I hadn't sailed a long passage in over a year at this point. And it was hard for us to get back into sailing. And for you had never been sailing on a monohull before, let alone upwind on a monohull before. But when we left Bermuda, I think that we fell into our rhythm on the first day. We took the same watch schedule that we had
Immediately, basically.
from Bonaire to Bermuda, and we were in the groove right away. And it was amazing. And when we arrived in the Azores, I had this feeling of being one with the boat. Like after a few days, you hear all those sounds and you know which ones are normal sounds and when you need to trim a sail or adjust your heading, or you hear all the sounds and you adjust to the motion of the boat to the point where like the boat and you become one. And when we reached Horta, I felt, man, like I don't want to break this bubble. I feel so good on the boat now. It is where I belong. But yeah, so I guess that the longer you stay on the boat, the more you kind of become encrusted in the boat. But yeah.
Someone asked, what is your favorite thing that Sophie cooks? Very
I
important.
just saw that. Yeah.
Okay, I think my favorite is the.
Let's rate the food. Let's have a little view.
You were asking me to rate your food, and I was like, well, I
did.
don't know.
Like I asked you what
But I
were your
did.
favorite dishes.
But I think the beef bourguignon.
Okay, yeah. So it's a classic that I make.
Amazing.
It's French beef bourguignon. It's very easy to make and it's pretty tasty. And you can eat it both as a dish with potatoes or mashed potatoes. You can even put rice, or you can eat it as a soup. You can put it in a mug and you can just eat it as a soup. And I remember that when we were on a very hard upwind night on a night watch, Ryan was in bed, Annette and I are just like the beef bourguignon in cups and we're eating a like,
I
this
loved
is
it.
okay.
It was amazing.
Was that the night you told me to eat the satchel of soup?
No.
That was, really? I
That
think
was, I think,
no,
a different night.
No. That was a different night.
There's a night some nights I would go to bed without eating dinner because it was getting late and I wanted to take my go off watch.
We
And-
also had the satchel, I think, that night.
And Sophie had warmed up some I have some questions.
Okay.
Sophie had warmed up a bag of soup for her and Annette, and when I got up I was like, hey, where's dinner at? And she's like, there's a satchel of soup sitting on the, and I was like, what? And I went out, a sachet. What is that? And I like went on the counter. I was like, there was this bag, but I thought it was like I don't know, croutons.
It was literally the only prepared thing.
And so I was like, well, this can't be it. So I'm like digging around, trying to find like a box, like a bucket of like soup. And so I was like, what? And she's like, no, it's a sachet of soup. And I was like,
clearly, sachet.
I just gave up. I gave up,
word.
and I put peanut butter on some bread, and that's what I had for dinner. And the next morning, she's like, "This is what you're." And then we ended up having it on this passage, and it wasn't that good.
Did not have it.
Ugh. Anyways, my favorite of yours is Sophie cooks this like tortellini with this buttered truffle sauce, and it's really good.
I thought you were gonna say the ashy parmentier.
Oh, that's really good too. It's like a meat pie, like a shepherd's pie kind of.
It's
not a
kind of.
shepherd's
It's
pie.
not a shepherd, but it's the best
we could
description.
go on and on. I have a long list.
The bacon
but
bread's good too,
we can go on if you want.
and sometimes she makes dessert. It's good.
Oh, and talking about that, guys, the last time that we crossed the Atlantic, I said, okay, I'm going to make a cookbook about all my recipes that I cook when we're on a long offshore passage. This time, I took the time to take photos of the recipes so that I can now make that book. And when I'm on land for a month in Paris, I actually have rented an office space because that's my vacation, go to the office so that I can be focused on what I do. I am planning on making that cookbook happen.
Hope the zucchini lemon risotto will be in it.
Yeah, it will be.
All right. I've got 2 questions I'm going to answer. First one, how do you handle store trash on board? This is a sweet question because we kept really close tabs on this time. We were out for 14 or 15 days from Bermuda. 15?
Mhm.
15 days from Bermuda to here. When we arrived, we had 2 small bags of trash. So most of all the like foodstuffs, extra food, went overboard. All of like the cans that didn't have plastic lining went overboard because they're just gonna rust away. And we know this because we had our soda cans stored underneath the stairs to the companionway, and we took a lot of splashes of seawater in on that first passage, and most of them had half rusted out of their bottom anyways by the time we got to Bermuda. And we had soda all over the bilge.
Things leaked everywhere.
Yeah. And then what else did we throw overboard? Not cardboard. Not cardboard.
Toilet paper?
Toilet paper. So that all goes overboard because it just disposes really fast. The plastic we don't throw. So pretty much it was just like plastic in some bigger
Like
things.
wrappers.
Wrappers,
Food
yeah,
that you
plastic
can't-
food wrappers and stuff. So we just had 2 small bags. So because there's not a lot of food stuff, it doesn't smell really. And so we kept them actually in the back garage locker.
Sophia asked us to rinse some stuff so it doesn't smell, which
So yeah, that's how we deal with it. You just got to be really smart. Like,
plan for it. Take all the packages off that you don't need before you head offshore, because they are going to end up taking place. So you want to get rid of as much as possible beforehand.
And keep it clean because that will keep the smells down.
Keep it really small. So like flatten everything.
Try to not choose the stuff that's like single packages.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
We only booked very few of those things. So.
Okay. Watch schedule. How does our shifts work? And so we started this passage with 4-hour watches, and then kind of came up with the idea that Sophie does a lot of the cooking. All of the cooking.
Yeah, I cooked for 3 people for 2 months.
Sophie does all the.
I'm a little burned out with it now.
So Sophie does all the cooking. So we wanted to make sure that she also didn't have to do like all the watches that are around that. So what we ended up doing, Annette and I ended up coming to an agreement where Sophie only took 1 4-hour watch a day, and that was like from officially, from like 4 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And then Annette and I took 2
6
6-hour watches, to make up for it. So how it worked was I was on watch from midnight to 4 a.m. Sophie came on watch from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And then Annette, you came on watch, and then breakfast was kind of on your own.
Yeah.
And then Annette came on from 8 till 2 p.m. And then the idea was that at noon, between noon and 2 was the time that we could like gather together in the cockpit. So a lot of times I would actually be up with you from like 10 or 11 a.m. just sitting there. And then Sophie would come up and make lunch.
Yeah.
And then from 2 till 8, I was on watch, but then like from 6 to 8 was kind of like this other gathering time that we would
I
always.
always came up at 6 and like.
Yeah, you'd always come up at 6, and we were always together, kind of from 6, and then.
Yeah, Annette was always on time for her watch.
Except
always.
one day. Oh
Except
my God.
one day, and at that point I was
so
like,
late in the game.
it was, I think 2 days before we arrived, and I was like, are you like, you have been so on time? So I just let you sleep, and then
I
you
was like,
woke
it's
up.
8:12. Oh my God.
Like, you can sleep.
Ryan, on the other hand, can we talk about Ryan for one moment?
Whatever.
Ryan was like, I would be so mad at crew if they were late to watch us.
What?
No, he said that to me.
But I would be mad. But the thing was, and I was a few minutes late most of the time because I was down here dealing with stuff.
I'm late. Okay, I'm late all the time, guys.
Yeah, you are late all the time, and
it doesn't apply.
the thing was, is we went through like a week-long period where when we had the pole out on the jib, every time we needed to jibe, Ryan needs to get out of bed.
Everybody needs to be on deck.
And so I was constantly getting awoken to jibe the boat.
Constantly.
Guys, we went through an entire week of having to jibe at least 5 times a day.
It was
that definitely happened.
yeah, it was happening.
Or at least
not.
Yes, like counting day and night. It was
Certainly what
we
it
were
felt like.
definitely we were definitely up to 5 times
We
a
were
day.
jibing around a bit.
And not jibing, but
It
also
wasn't 5 times.
changing our sail setup so that we could get on a different heading, because we were always on that very fine line of sailing very deep downwind and on a broad reach. So yeah. Okay.
Here you
Ryan?
go. What? Do I go ahead?
No, you go. You're in charge of choosing the next question. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in and asking such great questions. It's really nice. I have to admit, I'm a little bit tired, so it's really nice to have other people around me to help out.
Here you go.
So there we
Sophie.
go. That is a very hard no.
Does Sophie only cook dishes without cheese? Yes. No, it's a very hard yes.
No, I mean like a very hard no to cheese. Sorry.
Yeah. No, there is no cheese on board. Sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
There is discrimination against cheese. I'm
but
sorry.
That's very okay.
Also, that's not completely
didn't-
true. I still carry a little bit of mascarpone for
Yes.
tiramisu.
Oh, that counts as
So
cheese.
yeah.
There was also a block of feta that I
Yes.
You and I had some
on
feta.
here,
Yeah.
and we had it, and it was amazing. It was. Sometimes I just crave salty things, and I had olives and feta cheese.
Oh, can you put the comment from Umberto up? Yes. Thank you, Umberto. It's when we were all on lockdown, it was also it was hard for us, and having our wonderful community around us meant a lot. And reading that kind of comment, it goes to my heart. Thank you.
Was there a movie night? No, we don't really do that because usually, like, our time together in the cockpit was just kind of around the time when we were eating, and we'd just sit and talk, and like, so we never really had time or like a space really to do that. Nor did I think we have any movies downloaded. So, nope, that's not really our thing on board. What you doing? What'd you find?
Oh my god. Hello.
Yes. Hi. Great question.
The answer?
To
I
each
would
other
say
about.
nonstop.
I think. Okay. So, I did not only feed these two people, right? I felt like it's how can I mothering. Like there was a lot of chatty banter between those two about no, but I'm exaggerating. I think that when Ryan and I do it a lot, teasing each other about living habit, routing, and quirky ways of doing things, because we live it with each other and we need to accommodate each other with like the small things that we do and that annoys the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's because we were annoyed. Like, at least I hope so. But that we were annoyed with each other. We just there was a lot of teasing.
There was a lot. Like,
exactly.
No,
so
stop
there was
that.
there was a lot of teasing. In
Ryan
general.
likes.
We just had fun.
Ryan likes to tease the persons that he likes. So if Ryan teases you, that's because he really likes you.
It's elementary, I know.
Yeah,
it's fun.
No, but when you live in such close quarter with somebody for such a long time, you have to be really flexible with their living habits. And that's just the way it is. With that said, Annette, I think that you did a great job. It was pretty easy to live with you. One day,
same goes for you.
One day, Annette, after we arrived in Bermuda and I was really tired and we were all passed out in our respective cabin, one day Annette came with breakfast to the
She
bed
did,
in our
bed.
cabin with us.
That was very nice.
Amazing.
She only did it once in 7 weeks.
So it was not really an issue, but it's still a great question, and I know for a fact that there are some people and some type of people that I would not be able to sail with because I would not be able to share my living space with them. So, fact.
Sandra, what about a trash compactor? I don't think that would help. I think you compact it down enough as it is, and
I think that you have to be the trash compactor.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of unnecessary space that you don't have. So I don't think it's a great idea, but maybe you do. To each their own. Let's see.
Philippe has great questions. Philippe, I remember seeing a question from you on Patreon about I think it was AIS signal picked up by satellite, and I still need to answer it because I had to ask Ryan about it, but I didn't get all the way to writing it back. That's a good question though. Okay.
Did we use the washing machine underway?
I asked them if this is an okay thing to do.
No.
No. So we should show. We will show you eventually. We'll end up in the video, but we had extreme currents from the Gulf Stream all the way across, meaning that the current would sometimes go against the wind, and we had some pretty gnarly, like the sea state would always be pretty confused. We had confused seas for a very long time. More than halfway across, we were sailing in confused seas. So the boat was rocking a lot. The motion of the boat was more uncomfortable than it would be comfortable, like typical downwind sailing. The motion of the boat is really nice. You get some nice rest when you're off watch, but in confused seas, you end up surfing and then going up and down all the time. And there is just no way that the washing machine can stand that. So instead, you have to be economical with what you have, pack a lot of underwear, and
I think the issue with
stay clean.
I think the issue with the washing machine is it will know if it's unbalanced. So like if the boat, it doesn't have to be confused or not. I think if the boat rocks at all, it's just going to know and it's going to shut itself down. So I don't think it would even work. So that's why we didn't use it, I would say. And we don't need to. But we have used it since we got here. And it has worked. So yeah. Oh no. This is a sad question.
Yeah, it is a sad question.
No.
Okay, so Justin, I'm sad. I will come clean. We get zero fish. Like zero.
We didn't
bubble.
try a lot.
Wait, okay, so here is why. Between Bonaire and Bermuda, we were sailing upwind 100% of the time. We cannot fish in that. If you end up catching a fish and you're sailing at 7 knots and you're just bashing in the seas, first off, we're tired. There is no way that I can deal with catching a fish and gutting a fish, let alone cooking the fish. When we sailed between Bonaire and Bermuda, the sailing conditions were so hard that we mostly ended up eating food that was already prepped. So for us, gutting a fish and cooking the fish would have been really, really difficult. On the second part of the crossing, we had so much sargasso, which is the seaweed, that if you drop a hook, that in 2 minutes you have seaweed in the hook and you're not going to catch any fish. And so by the time we could fish, it was I got no fish, and I feel shame.
What
Justin.
did we get, honey?
I feel shame. No, I can't talk about that. That's too sad. One day, a bird caught our lure.
It was sad.
And there was nothing we could do. The bird caught the lure, and then it got really tangled and wrapped up in the line. And I tried to pull it to get the bird, to help the bird, but the bird would drown. And so I just cut the line, and it was really sad.
It was sad.
I can't believe that I said that in front of 400 people.
It happens.
I'm really sad about it. And I didn't want to fish after that.
No, we stopped.
All right, let's talk about something cheerier.
How did the water maker do? How much water did you consume? Okay, we actually consumed a lot of water on this passage.
But we also made a lot.
We made a lot. The water maker did well when we were on starboard tack because here's the boat. The inlet's like on the high side on one side. So if we're on the starboard tack, it forces that inlet into the water, and so we don't ever get a lot of air in it. When we were on port tack, it wasn't working very well. We could get it to work if it was fairly calm and we weren't going so fast. But as soon as speed picked up and the seas got a little rougher, we just couldn't use it. And so actually the last 2 days, we actually needed to make some water. And
that was the only time that we didn't
rationed.
Take showers.
Yeah, we actually rationed.
We take super short showers.
Otherwise, we would have just needed to hove to and wait for a couple hours while we made water. But
now we were trying to get somewhere.
We were trying to get somewhere, so we just rationed. So it worked really well, though.
It was okay.
It was fine.
It was amazing. The first Atlantic crossing that we did not have the water maker because of a poorly crimped connection. And we rationed water all the way along, and it was fine. This time, taking showers every day was amazing. It was so good.
We used a lot of water on
It's
this passage.
a whole other level of comfort,
It
really.
was so good. Like when you can be clean, when you can start your watch with like fresh, it's so great. 100% recommend. 10 out of 10. Okay, Patricia. First off, I have seen your comment earlier about our videos, and thank you so much. It really warmed my heart. Would we do the same passage again? Yes, absolutely. I think that as I speak for myself, but this was my best passage ever. We had a lot of fun. The weather was fantastic. The seas were a little confused, but that's just how it is. So the motion of the boat was a little bit rocky, but we had a lot of fun. We had a lot more sleep thanks to you. And just the right amount of adventure and mishaps to make it interesting.
Yeah, but not too much, which was really fantastic.
But not too much.
Yeah.
When the Iridium Go died on us, I was a little afraid that something else would happen, because usually catastrophic failures don't come from one thing failing, but multiple things failing. And I was afraid that the Iridium Go would be losing the satellite communication, would be an enhancing factor for a catastrophic failure. And so when we get the Enrich back, it was all good. 10 out of 10. We'll do that passage again. Fantastic. Great times.
I was worried about it because it was mostly because of the unknown, right? I didn't know. I've never done this before. But I would totally do it again, 100%.
Yeah.
And hopefully I will, because I want to sail to Europe again. And we sail out of Rhode Island, so going to Bermuda from there is totally ideal.
Azores
Bermuda
are
was
awesome.
Fantastic, and the Azores
And
also.
Fun fact, when we were sailing between Bonaire and Bermuda, and it was so hard, and it was like, no, this is okay, but I'm really worried. I'm more worried about the part from Bermuda to the Azores than this part. I was like, oh, no.
And only because I've sailed some part of that stretch before, so I was like, okay, this is what it is. But I didn't know what to expect here. But anyways, I learned a lot about the weather patterns, and I know now that you can wait for a fantastic weather window, and when you do, it's super nice. So.
Guys, in doubt, wait for the good weather window. I think that was the lesson of this passage. Wait for the good weather window. It makes it so worth it. Okay, another thing. Sorry, I know that a lot of again in the last few days, there's been a lot of people telling me that I talk too much, and now I've become conscious about it. I have, and also I'm a little tired, so I take things personally. But a lot of you in the comment sections have asked about Sam Holmes and if we met him, and we did. We met Sam. We didn't meet him in Bermuda because he had already left by the time I realized who he was and received all the messages from you asking if I had seen pickled herring. Sam Holmes is another sailing YouTuber, and I should have sent him the link to this live to invite him. But Sam left a week earlier than us when we had decided that the weather was not good enough for us to go, because if we would have left when he did, we would have ended up staying an extra week at sea. And we preferred to spend that extra week waiting for a better weather window rather than
eating burgers and drinking
and eating in restaurants and spending a lot of money in Bermuda because it's expensive, rather than being out at sea. And when we arrived in Horta, we found Sam, and Sam had only been there for 4 days, and he had been at sea for 23 days. We were like, dude, that's a lot of days to be out at sea on the open ocean, especially when you're alone and single-handing. But I guess he really loves what he does.
But also his
being
boat
at
is
sea.
smaller, all that.
Yeah.
But so it made sense.
But for
it was
comparison,
really nice to meet him.
Yeah, for comparison, we did it in 15 days, and like he was in a few patches of no wind,
Yeah.
and well, I guess we made different decisions, but I'm really glad that we waited for the weather window that we got because it was so worth it.
Okay, one question. Are we always clipped in when we're on watch? Yes, we are always have our life jacket on and always clipped in offshore when we're in the cockpit, regardless if you're on watch or not.
Let's go get that Kong tether line because we should talk about it because it's so good.
Here.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, no, but seriously, it's
Well, it's important. We use it.
it's super important.
As soon as we enter the cockpit,
Not enough people talk
clip
about
in.
safety and safety gear. So let's have 2 minutes of talking about safety gear.
Yeah, so you just have this that goes on the life jacket.
Okay, so this is the latest model that is approved by the American Sailing Association, I believe.
I actually don't like this
there
model
are-
as much, but
There are several types of ways to attach the tether line to your life jacket. One of them has a rapid release, and this one is more of a carabiner that you have to actively detach, which makes it a little harder, but also a little sturdier. And then you have two lines,
different lengths.
like different lengths, a short one, which is this one, and a longer one. And so the idea is that you tether yourself with the longer one, but when you want to change position, you use the shorter one, and then you go back with the longer one. And those are really nice. They're very stretchy. They're very elastic. Like, look, it's like
But I
shopping
think,
here.
but what I think, what's nice about these Kong ones,
They're
as opposed
good.
to like the spin lock ones, is that you can do it with one hand.
Yeah.
Just push on this guy. Hold on. Push on this guy, and then this gate opens. Otherwise, it won't. It won't open. And they're big. They're wide mouth, so they can clip into a lot of different spots. That's what I like.
So, and we only say that because the first tether line that we had were not good at all. The mouth was really small. They were really hard. They were not long enough. They were clunky. And those are the absolute best tether line that we found. Oh, sorry. Hi, Jules. I didn't realize that you were here. It was not only you. It was more people. You know, you can tell me whatever you want because we're friends and I like you. But it was more people than that, and then I became worried. Okay. Sorry. Did you find a good question that you wanted to answer?
There was another one up here, but you keep
What was
moving.
your average speed?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. I'm just gonna talk about this because we have been behind Millennial Falcon by a few weeks, and we keep on missing them. And I think that they are going to continue in the Med, whereas we're going to continue back across the Atlantic westwards. And I don't know if we're going to manage to see them. We may end up meeting them in Sao Miguel, sorry, which is the island that is south, but no idea. But we've been in touch. We're like, hey, where are you guys? And we never managed to be in the same place at the same time. Okay, Ryan, sorry.
What was our average speed? I actually don't know.
Oh, well.
Because but we did have, I would say we did have the tracker on for like the last 5 or 6 days, right?
I'm a little bit sad that we don't have a proper log, unfortunately. But I would say the last several days it was 6 knots or so.
At
And
least.
I think that was typical of most of our time between Bermuda and the Azores.
I think there was one day that we did like 150, 160 miles, maybe.
Whoa,
It was a lot for polar seal.
that's a lot.
We don't do
But
200
overall,
mile days,
we
200 mile
constantly
days.
felt like we were going fast.
Yeah,
The last day when we were seeing Horta, I woke up at 3:50 to take my watch, and from 4 a.m. I made a commitment to make a strong finish, and I kept polar seal between 6.5 and 7 knots, which is pretty fast for a 40-foot boat. But I succeeded.
But we had some iron wind in that one.
Oh yeah. No, like we're strong finish, strong.
Yes. Okay, got it.
All right.
Yeah, I think so.
We may even subtract one.
I may hop off the boat. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Why is that?
So Ryan and I have talked about me captaining Polar Seal across the Atlantic on the way back, which is definitely an idea that we are exploring. I think that it would be a lot of fun. I feel 100% up to it. I would just need to find the crew to do it with me, a crew that I feel safe enough with. And but yeah, I think that it would be a fun experience to do that. A lot of time people talk about Ryan has the captain and the people who has the skills on board, but well, it takes two to tango. I'll just say that. And I think that generally I want to, step up my game too. So it would be a cool opportunity to do that.
And I think the cool thing about that you were talking about would be
no dudes on board. All right, guys, we are frozen again, meaning that we're probably not going to be able to see any questions, but you see us. So let's continue. There we go. Ooh,
I think having an all-female crossing would be really cool.
I think that it would be cool to have an all women's crossing. Yeah, I agree. It does come with a few challenges in terms of sleeping arrangements because our boat only has 2 cabins. But yeah. Oh, it's true. We're doing seatbelts demonstration. Sorry. Oh, hi, Horta. It's been a long time since we. Oh man, I haven't seen a lot of comments from you in the latest month, but I definitely remember seeing you around. Seasickness. Let's talk about that. And it's. Go ahead.
How did we fare with seasickness? Okay, between Bonaire and Bermuda.
Do you want to talk about how when we called each other to talk about that crossing and we talked about it?
Gosh, yes.
And I was like, Annette, you may want to try seasickness medication.
Yeah, so, okay, that's like going way back, but I was trying to keep it short. Mm. So we were bringing our boat north at that time, and Sophie and I were texting, having conversation about seasickness, and she was telling me what she normally does, which is the patch. I was saying I've actually never taken seasickness medication before because I've gotten really, really seasick a total of 2 times. So I wasn't sure. And in any case, that night I actually got seasick on our boat because the weather wasn't great, and I was cold, which is a huge no-no. And then I still wasn't sure about the patch before our passage to Bermuda, so I did not put it on, and well, we all know what happened. It was not good, but it was not good for anybody, so that was just rough overall. But then I was like, okay, let's see what this patch can do for us when we left from Bermuda, and it was fine. Sophie warned me. The reason why I didn't want to put it on in the beginning in Bonaire is because of all the side effects that you warned me about. I just wasn't sure. Don't necessarily take a lot of medication ever. So anyways, but because of our awful experience from Bonaire, I was like, all right, definitely patch, whatever the side effects are. And I put it on, and of course that start, well, I shouldn't say of course, but again, that start was very, very nice. I don't think we would have really needed it, but I am very glad that we did put it on. And I will say that I did put a patch on again towards the end of our passage because I had some nervous days, and for me, when I get nervous mentally, my stomach immediately reacts, and sometimes it's just difficult for me to get a handle on that. And I put a patch on because I knew that some upwind was coming in our last 3 days, and I wanted to be safe. But again, everything was good.
Yeah. So I have a little more experience than you with seasickness. Unfortunately, I did get seasick a lot during our first tour of sailing. And this time around, I knew that there was a chance that I could get seasick, especially crossing the Caribbean back to Bermuda. So I put a patch on, and I was fine for the first day. And after 24 hours, I was experiencing some pretty strong side effects. So I decided to take it off because I felt, okay, now I'm used to everything. It didn't take me 3 hours from the time that I removed the patch to get really seasick. And when it's very rare that I vomit, but this time I did multiple times. And seasickness did not leave me for 5 days. And I remember being so bad that I couldn't eat. And I know that when I can't eat, it's definitely when I need to eat. And I remember crawling from the bed to the chart table because I knew that we had some gels in the ditch bag, and I dug through the ditch bag to get a gel, and I remember like being like on the floor, just like sucking on the gel, be like, oh, this is disgusting, and I can't eat. And then an hour later, I went up and I threw up. Good times, yay! Sorry for the absence of a trigger warning there. Yeah. All right, Ryan, how was your seasickness? This is the first time that I saw you taking any seasickness medication.
No, this is the first time I used the patch
That's
ever.
how bad it was.
Yeah, I was not feeling so good going upwind. So after I managed like 3 days worth, and then I was like, I'm not getting over this. So put it on, and like almost instantly, I think it was just I just needed a little bit of a boost, and like it was almost that patch can take like 6 hours to kick in. I felt like in 30 minutes I was, maybe it was placebo, I don't know, but felt fine from then on out.
It helps. That's all that matters.
Yep.
Yeah, your seasickness meds. Yay!
Okay.
Applied at the right time.
Oh, sorry.
Ryan,
I'm getting
What's going
tired.
on?
I'm getting tired. It's almost 9 and we haven't had dinner.
Okay.
Do you have a plan? Do you plan to have AIS transponders in our life jackets? We actually do. They're from Ocean Signal. They're called MOB1s, and they're pretty awesome. Not that we ever intend to use them, but essentially when the life jacket inflates, it triggers the MOB, and it sends a signal to our VHF's MMSI number, and it makes a little beep, 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 beep. It's like a warning signal, and then it will display the AIS target on the chart plotter, and it does work. We tested them all before we left. That actually works so good. I tested the EPIRB at the hour I was supposed to test it, and the Coast Guard called me because they had it on their system and wanted to make sure we were okay. And then the next morning, I got a visit from the Coast Guard because apparently our MOB1 was still triggered or something, even though they were all off. So they do work. They're pretty sweet, but they are expensive. So I don't know. You take that as you may. The safety equipment's expensive, and you never want to use it. But yeah, I think it's worth the cost. It's just a cost that you need to have.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, that's not necessarily true.
Guys, I have a reputation as a drunk now. It's terrible. What have I done to
Wow,
myself?
that was fast.
No. No, it will definitely be a dry crossing. I do not drink on passage. The only exception to that is a beer when we are at halfway during an ocean crossing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On to more important subjects.
What are polar seals next? Oh my gosh, I'm actually so sick of projects right now. I did a lot while we were in Bonaire. I think we added a new stereo. We added a new tap for the kitchen sink. We got a new dinghy. Got a new outboard. What else did we do? We did a bit of engine service. I have a huge list actually of stuff. We're putting on new sails. I'm pretty tired of the anti-fouling. I'm pretty tired of just doing stuff to polar seal. So
No, you're not. That's a lie. It's an absolute lie, Ryan.
I am actually.
Next
How
time.
many projects have you heard me talking about lately?
That's true.
But that's because there is nothing to do anymore.
That's not true.
There is nothing that
I have a whole box of electrical parts. I want to redo the electrical panel and the electrical box.
Oh,
but
right, the wiring.
The
You
wiring.
talked about the wiring.
You
but
know
I don't
what,
want to
Ryan?
touch it.
No. You know what? When I told you, Ryan, I'm going to Paris for a month because I need to visit family and I take a little bit of a break. You're like, oh, great. Then I could just stay in port and change the electric system.
No, not change it. I just want to redo the wiring in that box. And am I doing that? Am I doing that? Hey, am I doing that?
No, you're not.
I'm
But
not doing that.
Let's just say every project that starts with a just is a...
Yeah.
It's okay, honey. It will come back. It will come back.
It won't. Not right now. The thing is,
Well,
polar
first you're
seals.
taking this break,
Oh, we
so
did the
that's fine.
washing machine in Bonaire. That's right. So polar seals she's like well equipped. I'd love to redo the wiring in the battery box. I think it needs to look better. I would like to put a Watt and C on the boat, but that costs money, and I'm not going to do that.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay, no, I think that the next thing that we need to do is to change our navigation equipment, and in particular our truck
That's true.
plotters.
That's true.
We have 2 sets of E80 Red Marine truck plotters from 2007, and they're from the mid 2000s, so they're a little bit dated. We have exhausted all of the options that we have to maintain those over the years. So we have swapped them out. We have replaced the motherboard. One of our viewers, it was even like generous and sent us his old unit all the way from Lithuania, so that when one of our units broke, we could replace it without having to upgrade our electronics. But at this point, we need to buy new truck plotters. We just need to do it. We need to swallow that cost because they are 15 years old, and we can see that they are acting up, and we need those truck plotters. So I would say that's what it is. But it's a pretty exciting upgrade, Ryan.
Yeah, but I'm not doing it because I don't have cash.
Yeah.
So it won't be getting done anytime soon.
Well, it will be done sometimes.
What was it? The restrictions of budget and location.
Budget, location, yes. So, all right, should we take a few more questions and
Yes.
wrap it up? We've been going for 2
Hi,
hours.
Crystal and Darren! Yay!
Hi, guys.
Oh my god. We miss you guys. It's been a long time.
We did end up leaving the jib up the whole way, and it
So-
worked perfect.
So thanks for helping putting it up.
Yeah.
It was very nice. It was very, very useful.
Super useful. I think maybe we didn't even really think about changing it in Bermuda, Ryan, right?
I think we
Like maybe
talked
for a
about it.
moment,
We did.
but-
You and I talked about it actually when we were talking about the light winds, but we ended up.
Yeah, I think it was an afterthought, like when we were already on the
That's
way.
right.
And they were like, oh, but
So my mom has just made a comment and said that my dad has projects for me in Iowa. That's great. Last time I was home, my sister told me her dryer wasn't working well, so I was like, well, I'll just take it apart and see how we do this. She said it works like a new dryer now. I wonder if that's still the case. Anyways,
All right. Should we take one last question and then call it a night?
one
Because
last one.
we're up at 2 hours, guys.
Yeah.
Well, it's the
and
last
we've
one.
got to get up in the morning and get our brains swabbed again.
Yeah, have to take those PCR tests. Now there are multiples. All right. Visa situation. It's a good question, and it's pretty timely. Do you want to talk about it?
Do you want me to talk about it?
No, do we want to
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
we can
it?
talk about it. Yeah, sure.
All right. So this is a big announcement, actually. So for the 393 people that are still watching us at this point, this is a big thing. Ryan and I filed for a green card application a couple of months ago that was received by USCIS. Yeah, this is a big deal, guys. We are changing our residency to the United States. Yay! Which is why for the last 6 months, we were telling that we have something on the way, but we can't really talk about it because, up to the moment that it's filed, it's still a little bit uncertain. It's going to take a few months for the process to go through. It's very expensive. It's a little bit crazy. But we are hoping that in 2022, Ryan and I will be changing our residency to the United States, meaning that, this time it's not only that we can go there, but we have to be there. So, yay! Look at how happy Ryan is. He's like, yay, this is so great.
No, but it's going to make our lives a lot easier.
All right, so that was it. It was
the highlight of the crossing.
Was what?
That's the question. Sorry, there's a question. I
This-
think it's a great. There was
Okay,
a
we can
great
end with
question
that.
right here.
What was
Just
the
to
highlight?
end.
Well, this is the last question. What was the
Yes.
highlight of our crossing for each of us? Okay, Annette, go.
The highlight of the crossing for me was when Sophie said that we can see Zanzibar again on the AIS. It was just a happy moment.
Okay,
What about you?
that's great. Sophie.
it's you.
For me, the highlight of the crossing was there was a night where I don't know which night. It was closer towards the end of this last trip that Annette and I were doing a watch swap at about midnight, and I think we decided to drop the pole. I think on the head sail, and so I need to go on the foredeck and that requires moving around a bunch of lines and stuff. So I was up there while she was in the back helping, and I was on the foredeck, and I just happened to like glance up at the sky, and all the stars were out. Like there wasn't a cloud in the sky, everything was out, and we were sailing like pretty comfortably, and there wasn't a lot of wind hitting me, and it was just really comfortable. And so I actually stopped what I was doing on the foredeck and kind of crouched down and just like looked up at the sky for a couple of minutes and took a few big breaths and tried to take it all in, because you could see everything. You could see the Milky Way, you could see every star in the sky, and that's really, really special. And I think that a lot of times when we are on crossings, we don't really, because we're covered with a bimini, we have other things going on, and we don't really stop and just look up at the stars and see what's going on. So for me, that was the most special point. I made it a point to say to myself, I need to remember this. This is really special. And so for me, that was the most special moment.
Yeah, I think we were both doing
that. Annette was supposed to be watching me on the foredeck, and she was like, dude, that's so nice. I'm hanging over the side. Yeah, that's what happened.
It was quite incredible.
Sophie?
It's when we got the InReach back. I mean, not back, but when the InReach popped in, it was like, hey, welcome to InReach. Here, enjoy all those wonderful functions. I'm like, well, you don't do half as what my favorite piece of gear, the Iridium Go, does, but I'll take you anyways. That was my favorite moment. Nice. Yeah, I know it's a bit shallow, but for me, you know what? Actually, no, it was for me to know. Okay, I take it back. It's when we talked to the tanker ship, and they told us that Willem had answered the call and knew about our situation. And I was like, okay, somebody on shore knows that we're fine, and it's just our SATCOMs that went down. That was the highlight of my trip.
So thanks for that great question.
That was a great question to end with. So I think we end it here. 2 hours. We could probably go on for another 2 hours, but then we'll be hungry and tired, and then we'll probably stop making sense. Although maybe we didn't make sense.
Probably started.
Great. Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining us.
Sorry. We'll leave with that wonderful quote.
That's kind of fun. So everyone, thanks so much for joining us. It's always great to have you on. Big thanks to our patrons who do a little extra special supporting, but just watching and asking questions is such a great help. And we were actually very thankful for all the people that were concerned about us when our Iridium Go down. That was cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, so stand by. There'll be more videos coming out soon. I know you've all been missing them, but Sophie's got some big plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you very soon in new videos, and if not, everywhere else on Instagram, Facebook, the website, and well, YouTube.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye, guys.